Hello, readers. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author, where we ask authors important questions like, why would you agree to be on this podcast? I'm Kelly Lo Colby, Editorial Director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Our guest this week is Chris Kennedy. A Webster Award winner and 3-time Dragon Award finalist, Chris Kennedy is a science fiction fantasy author, speaker, and small press publisher who has written over 40 books and published more than 400 others. Called fantastic and a great speaker, he has coached hundreds of beginning authors and budding novelists. If he's not your favorite now, he will be after. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. I'm glad we could finally find a schedule that would work for both of us.
Well, thank you very much for having me and for being patient and working around everything we had going on for all of the folks that are watching. We've been working on getting together since January.
Yeah,
it only took us 6 months,
and we did it. It finally happened. I love it. I love it. Magic, the magic of email.
PFM. Pure magic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What does the F stand for? Fun.
That's not what the F stands for. We're not a children's podcast, though. We're allowed. Yeah. How did you do? You know what? That's going to be my first question.
Okay.
So we have now found out.
I thought the first question was why did I agree to come?
Oh, that's true.
Or was that not really an actual question? You did say like this question. You didn't say that was.
Yeah, because I'm afraid if I ask that question, people won't answer it in a way I like. So I'm not sure I'm ready for that one. So Chris, why did you agree to be on this podcast?
Because I'd been drinking.
Most accurate answer I've ever heard. That was
just when you said that, I'm like, oh, I got this one. I can nail this one.
Okay, if you're trying to be on my podcast, sure.
That's not actually why I agreed to do it, but it is actually true. I was actually, no. But the answer was, you seemed like a fun person, and I wanted to do it, and maybe I was happier than normal because we had been drinking. We
were drinking. I mean, it was fun. Yeah. BarCon is the best con.
It was fun talking with you then, so I figured it'd be fun talking with you now.
Excellent, excellent. I have you fooled. Now for the real question. Now. I do want to see as a recipient of some of your valuable advice, some of it while we were drinking, I need to know. So you have a publishing company of your own. You have a series you're writing. You have many co-authors that you work with and create with, and you still help others to do what you're doing. Why do you do that?
Wow, that's a harder one. Well, because I don't want this to sound crappy, but I like seeing people succeed.
How can that be crappy?
Well, I don't want it to sound like I'm egotistical or something like that, because I'm really not. I've been blessed with a lot. I am happy where I am in life. I would like to see other people get to where they can be happy too, and if that means giving them a little bit of my time, I don't mind doing that. Sometimes my wife has asked me a couple times, why did you stop? And well, because they needed a hand, and it was something I knew, and I could tell them about this thing that I know that they didn't, and hopefully it'll help them sell some books, and all right, so I'll stay up an extra 5 minutes late tonight, big deal. Honestly, I've been blessed with a lot of stuff, and I want to see the folks succeed. I had somebody at a con, asked me, what are your goals with CKP? And I said, I would like to see all of my authors make $1 million. And the guy said, well, don't you have a personal goal? I said, well, if they all make $1 million, I'm probably doing okay too. So, that'll all work out.
It'll all work out. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah. So you give a lot of advice. I'm wondering, have you received any advice that's helped your writing career?
I've received a lot of advice, and that is When I was starting out, I not only got a lot of advice, but I also got some opportunities that I probably didn't deserve. I got into a couple anthologies early on when I really didn't know much about what I was doing. I meant well. I tried hard, but I hadn't learned enough to really be good yet. I look at some of my early stuff and go, "Oh my God, how did people read that?"
Don't we all? Yep.
Right. And because of that, just about every anthology we do at CKP, we tried to leave 3 or 4 slots open for open submission so that other people can have a chance too. I think the Four Horsemen universe has been very good for that. I think we've been the first publisher for about 25 people now. Of course, the different anthologies and different stories. So we've been successful in that, and we've been able to do that without dropping our standards or doing anything like that. Everybody that we bring in has been great. Because everyone just wants a shot. Just give me a chance. I can do this. So we try and do that and give as many people a chance as we can.
That's awesome. So at a conference, I remember you explaining that you had an idea for a book on your drive home one day. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I remember.
No, that's true. That was
right. That's right. So you got home and you wrote. Like you just sat down and started writing, despite your wife going, "What are you doing?"
That is absolutely. That was my first
fiction,
book,
right? And that's your first book. That's awesome. So I'm wondering, what was that idea that jumped into your head on your way home?
So I had just started a new job, and it was for the Navy. I had been Navy 20 years, but my clearance had lapsed, so I didn't have a clearance. So I had to go into work, but I couldn't actually work on anything until my clearance came through. But if I didn't show up at work, I didn't get paid, and I needed to get paid.
Sounds like the military. Yeah.
Right. So I went in and I was sitting there looking at CNN one day, and I saw a thing about the Detroit Auto Show, and the Chinese had brought some cars over, and they said, "Yeah, if this goes well, we're going to open up a plant somewhere on the West Coast, maybe Portland or Seattle." And I said, as I was driving home that day, I was like, man, if they were to do that, well, at least half the people in the plant would be spies of some sort, some sort of info gatherer. And if they did that, then this, and then they could do that. And then the Navy's nukes are all in Seattle, and they could do this and that and this and that. Oh my God, China takes Seattle. And that was Red Tide, the Chinese occupation of Seattle.
Wow. You were like, I must write this now.
Right. Well, the thing is, does China really want Seattle? No, we don't even want Seattle most days. But they do want Taiwan. And if they were to take Seattle and go, hey, if you just do nothing for like 3 or 4 days while we do this other thing, we'll give it back. And that was actually the why they would want Seattle.
Yeah, that's pretty realistic.
And I did learn later that in the Chinese War College, every year they game plan or role play an attack on a West Coast city. So that's something you don't hear much about, but yeah, they do that every year. So I had this great idea, and I'm like, okay, I should write that down. But what would I do with it? I don't know any publishers. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything. I'm like, but it's a neat story. I could write this. I could totally do this. Yeah, and I talked myself out of it. And I got home and walked in, and my wife's like, hey, dinner's going to be a little late because life. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll sit down and write this story. And I pulled out my laptop and started typing away. And she said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, I'm writing a story. And she's like, no, really, what are you doing? Because I'd never said that I wanted to write a story. I'd never wanted to write a story, and then I had one. She, I tell this story, and she goes, God, do you have to do that? Do you have to tell that story? Because she's my biggest fan, and she has given me support ever since day one. So I absolutely love her, and she's been wonderful, and I couldn't do this without her. But that's
It
a true
doesn't. That
story.
story does not make her. That story does not make her sound unsupportive. It makes her sound like curious, like but you don't,
What
right?
the heck are you doing? What?
You don't, right? I don't understand what's going on right now.
What got in your head?
Yeah.
Are you serious? What?
Are you okay? What's in that mug?
Yeah. But it kind of turned out okay because I put it out and it sold, and better write the second half of the story. Okay, that's sold, and then the group of characters from that, I'd always been a huge sci-fi fan, so I took all of those people and sent them to space, and then that sold like crazy, and all of a sudden there I was, an author.
I just love that one. Well, talking about being a sci-fi fan, because obviously sci-fi has to be one of your loves, because your list is very heavy in sci-fi. So what is it about that genre that draws you in?
The escapism, especially these days when, you turn on the TV, this is bad, this is bad, this is scary, this is awful. You can pull out a book and go to a different world and fight battles for the good guys. And go away and be somebody else and do something else and be the hero of your story. And those are the kinds of books that I write, the ones where, you have heroes, you have people doing the hard things, the people willing to sacrifice, and do their all for, the rest of the race or the rest of the group or the rest of whatever. That's what I want to read. So that's what I write.
I love it. Good choice. It's funny how the news makes us feel like helpless. Like I can't do anything to change that. And reading fiction, we're not actually doing anything, but it gives you hope instead.
Oh, absolutely.
It's incredible.
Looking, all of my, my authors in like 20 through 21, productivity just went way down. And it was just because, you just get beaten down so much. I didn't watch the news at all, so it didn't hurt me.
You're like, much. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you do that thing, okay. Oh, I need a shot now. Okay, I'll go get a shot. Okay, good. Can I play with, the boys and girls again? Okay, great.
Let's go.
but a lot of people really had a hard time the last couple of years being productive because, everything just sucked the life out of them, sucked the joy, sucked the energy. And it's just now starting to ramp back up again. It's CKP, Chris Kennedy Publishing. Most of our authors do a lot of conventions, and we love to get out in the people, and not being able to do that for a couple of years was hard on the company, because that's truly how we market. We go out and meet people and, hey, look, I'm a neat guy and I got these neat things, and take a look. And, that's, not being able to do that hurt us. And it's nice to be back to where we can.
Yep. Kissing hands and shaking babies, as I say. Okay.
Yeah. So
right. Same thing. So that first book that you were talking about, how long did it take you to finish it?
It did not take, it took me, well, that's not true. It took me, I guess it took a little bit more than a month. But
that story really was in your head.
It really was. And it just, it wanted to be written. The thing was then, okay, what do I do with it? Because I'd like to reference I don't know any editors, I don't know any publishers, I don't know any agents, I don't know anybody. And so I'm like, oh, well, you send it off to agents. That's what you do. I know
That's what you do.
You write a story, you send it to agents. So I sent it off to 75 of them. I think half of them said no, thereabouts. I'm still waiting to hear, from the rest.
I was going to say, a bunch of them, nothing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm, any day now, I'm sure they're going to get back to me. It's only been 9 years now, but I'm sure I'm going to hear.
They've almost got to you in their inbox. They're getting there.
Well, there's probably some that are looking through, now going, Kennedy. I remember that guy. Oh, wait, he's successful now? Wonder if I can still pick them up.
Oh, yeah.
No, you
Yeah.
missed the boat.
And aren't you glad they did? Yeah.
When the Janissaries, which was the first sci-fi book, the third book I wrote, first sci-fi book, after it sold its 20,000th copy or something like that, I was at a conference and there was an agent. They're like, "How many books have you sold?" I said, "Well, it just sold its 20,000." And they're like, "You're an indie?" Or actually, back then they're like, "You're self-published and you sold 20,000 books?" Yeah. You're like,
Uh-huh.
"Well, who's representing you?" I'm self-published,
My
remember? You
fans?
just said.
Yeah.
You're like, "Well, are you looking for somebody?" Nah, not so much anymore. I'm not sure what can you do for me?
Mhm.
And he explained that basically he could take a portion of my money and do the things that I was doing. And I was like, okay. Hey, you got a card? Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Yeah. And I don't mean to make fun of agents. There are agents that do a lot of good
They
work.
made fun of us for a long time,
Yeah.
so
Oh, they made fun of me for a long, long
and they
time.
still do to a certain extent.
Right.
So yeah.
I still don't need one. I still don't want one. But for some people, they're a good thing, and they have a part in the industry, and I don't begrudge them, their money.
Well, this is
I'm
one of
not
the
going to
there's
be the
no
one to
wrong
give it.
way.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way.
There is no, and that's if I know one thing, there's no wrong way. You want an agent, you should go get an agent. You want to be in bookstores, you should go be in bookstores. You want to make a shit ton of money, go out and make a shit ton of money. That one's mine, just by the way.
Just in case you're wondering, that's my preferred method.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to make money with writing. They think that there's a purity of writing, and writing shouldn't be about the money, and that's wonderful. But this is my job, and if I don't get paid, then my wife doesn't eat. And I love my wife, and I want her to be able to do things like that. So it makes
I'm
me
sure
sad
she also
when
appreciates this. Yes.
right. It makes me sad when I can't feed my wife. So I have a very mercenary attitude about writing because I'm in the business of writing. It's not something I'm doing for fun. This is my job, and if there wasn't a dollar amount attached to it, I'd still be working for the Navy, which also wasn't bad. But yeah,
everything has its benefits.
Everything does. I enjoy being able to take vacation whenever I want without having to ask anybody.
I'm out. I'm the boss. I gotta go.
We'll see. My daughter says, "Hey, I just we have no AC in our apartment building. I can jump in the car and go rescue her. I don't have to ask anybody." I tell my wife, "Hey, I'm going to go help Adri."
And she's like, "Have fun."
Yeah.
And you're like, "I will."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that actually happened.
I have a feeling you like rescuing people. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened last summer. Actually, a year ago today, my daughter said, "Hey, I got this job opportunity. It's in St. Paul, Minnesota. We live in North Carolina." She's like, "I've never been to St. Paul. I don't know anything about St. Paul. I don't know if I'd like it." I said, "Let's go take a trip." So we jumped on an airplane and went and took a trip, and we went and saw it.
Ooh.
She didn't like it. Too cold.
I'm sorry. It might be nice in July, but give it a couple months.
Yeah. When she met the first person, she's like, "Well, hey," we went to a pet store. She's like, "Hey, how cold does it get here? What do you got to do with your dog?" And the lady says, "Well, I've got these custom made boots that they wear so that they can go in the snow and slush and freezing stuff." And my daughter went, "I'm out."
That's when you're like, "And you live here on purpose?"
Yeah. And
clever of your daughter to ask the good questions, though.
Yeah. You chose to live here? What?
I'm like, wait a minute, by choice. I need to hear this again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you're stationed here. Okay, I get it. But wait, you want to be here? Hold on.
Yeah. It's one thing to be stationed somewhere. I get that. I was in the Navy.
That I
get. I get that.
Yeah. Oh, madness.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about your books a little bit. So sorry.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Sure.
In case.
How is anybody going to know I'm their new favorite author if we don't?
Exactly. It's part of the gig, man.
Yeah.
So let's see. I want to talk about the Revelation Cycle novels.
Okay.
So the beginning, because it's not just yours, there's a whole bunch of people, right? So this is in the Four Horsemen universe, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That is the first 12 books of the Four Horsemen universe.
I love it.
And we're going to give away one of those when we're done.
If you came live. If you're live. See, all you people listening in the big old universe, if you want these free books, you have to come live. We have, I thought it was interesting the way they were structured. Because I didn't realize that. Because I've interviewed a bunch of people. I've had, Kevin Eikenberry on here. I've had, Alan Webb on here. I've had a bunch of people that write in the universe. Kayla Krantz? She's one too, right, Kayla?
She does not write in the universe yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. She was in something else. But so I've got a whole bunch of people in from that universe, right? And but I did not realize at the very beginning of it that it was Mark, who I've not interviewed. Mark, is it Wandry? Wandry. Okay. So Mark Wandry wrote the first one, then you wrote the second one, then he did the third, you did the fourth. Like, how did that work? How did you come up with that structure of storytelling?
It all started in a bar.
As all good tales do.
And it really did. Well, so I'd like to reference back to, we do a bunch of conventions. I was at InCon Junction in Indianapolis, and Mark came up to me and he said, "Hey, I'd like to, you look like you know what you're doing. You look like you're pretty successful. I'd like to write a book with you." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, hey, I've got this series that I got to finish up, and then I'd love to do that." And there was the Theogony series, which was Janissaries, and I was writing the second trilogy because the reader said, "Hey, you can't stop with one trilogy. We need more." So I was doing that. And he went off and was sad and thought I was just putting him off. Flash forward a year, we're both back at InCon Junction, and I go, "Hey, Mark, I've cleared my schedule. I'm ready to do this thing. What's your project?" And he's like, "What?"
Wait, you're really interested?
I said, "Last year you said you wanted to do something. Did you still want to do something?" He's like, "I didn't think you wanted to. I thought you were just, putting me off." I was like, "No, I really had something I was doing, but I'm done now. And, so let's do it." He's like, "Well, I've already started." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me what you're doing." And he says, "Well, there's this, it's science fiction. There's this thing." And I said, "Okay, well, you've started, right?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, let me see what you got." And he's like, "Okay, well, I can email it to you." Okay, cool. So he emailed it to me that day, and I stayed up way too late reading it because I didn't want to put it down. I was like,
well,
"This
that's
is
a good
awesome.
sign.
I need to be part of this." So I went up to him the next day and I said, "Yeah, man, I got your thing, and I'm pretty sad about it." He's like, "Oh, you didn't like it? You hate it?" I was like, "No, I'm sad because I stayed up past my bedtime. I didn't get any sleep, and it's awesome, and we've got to do this." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do this thing."
That's awesome.
So we then went into the bar, and he's like, "Yeah, this thing is the Four Horsemen universe, and there's going to be 4 different mercenary companies. It's mercenary warfare, wearing giant mecha suits." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I like me some mecha. Let's do mecha." And he's like, "Okay, so here are the 4 companies, and they're based on historical mercenary companies." And he said, "I'll write 2 and you write 2." And I was like, "Okay, which 2 are you doing?" And he said, "This one and this one." And I said, "Okay, that's great. I don't want either of the other 2. I said, "I want to pick my own." And he was like, "Okay, I don't care." And I said, "Okay, great." And so I picked 2 other mercenary companies that kind of meshed with what I wanted to do, because he had some neat ones, but I wanted to kind of make them, this is a global thing. So I wanted, I've got one that's the Golden Horde, they come from Mongolia. So, that opens it up to, a little bit more. And we went into the bar and talked for about an hour about how we were going to do it and what we were going to do. I actually completed my first book, which is the second book in the series, before he completed his, because I got so hyped up that, I wanted to write it. And so
you're like, "I must finish it. It won't let me sleep."
yeah, he's like, okay, well, that can be the first book. And I'm like, no, I didn't write it as the first book. His book was written as the first book and is the good intro to the
Whole
the
world.
series. Whereas my main character in my first book, the second book, is imperfect, and it would not make as good a first book. People would read it and go, I don't know that I need to try another one. But see, if they're already hooked on Mark's first book and they read this and they're like, oh, Mark's got another book, and then they'll stay. And it's worked out really well that way. But it was never written to be the first book. But now looking back 80 books into the series, because yes, there's incredible. 80 books into the series, he's got the best arc of anybody because he started low, so he's now come the furthest, done the most, and is one of the most likable characters now, and people cheer for him. But he wasn't always.
It took some time.
Way. But you gotta grow. If you're already perfect, how do you grow? I mean, look at some of the superhero movies.
Right.
If you
they have to make them go bad because they have nowhere to grow. So they have to turn them bad so they can then grow.
Where's the story if you're bulletproof and invisible? You do anything you want.
Yep.
So I wrote him that way on purpose. Awesome. And he is actually one of my favorite characters that I've ever written.
Do we have music on for some reason? I think Zafo changed the scene. Are we good? He's talking. We can't hear him. He wanted to interrupt because he likes editing. He thinks it's fun.
Okay.
I think he said a thank you because somebody followed us on Twitch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're going to have to cut this part out now, so congratulations. He meant to turn that off. He just forgot. That's right. Look, I'm putting a cut so you know where to cut. We're trying to figure out what symbol to use so he doesn't have to listen to the whole thing anymore. That's right. See, symbol. We did the symbol. All right. So, that's a great story. So I had no idea where that came from. That's very cool because I hadn't seen that before, right? The every other. So I really like that.
So we did the first 4. And then we wanted to expand the universe. So we talked to our author friends and said, hey, we're doing an anthology. Who'd be interested in writing this mecha merc world? And I was hoping to get 14 stories so that we could do an anthology. But all of our friends loved the universe so much.
They're like, me too.
The 14 stories became 42. And all of a sudden I now have 3 anthologies.
That's why you have so many. I was wondering.
Fistful of credits. For a few credits more in The Good, the Bad, and the Merc. And those stories were so good that the readers went, hey, I need to know more about that guy. I need to know more about that girl. Hey, tell me more about that Peacemaker. Kevin Eikenberry story. Number 5's book in the series is Peacemaker because people.
Yeah, Kevin, you want to write some books for us?
That's exactly what happened. Well, the thing was, I was at a con and I asked Chuck Gannon to write a story, and he's like, I can't. But have you met this guy, Kevin Eikenberry? He seems like he's got it going on. You should contact him. So, hey, Kevin, Chuck Gannon said to look you up. We're doing this antho, and would you be interested? He's like, sure. He writes a story. I'm like, hey, you're not done yet. How about writing me a full-length story? Sure. Hey. This Peacemaker thing, the readers like it. You want to do a whole series on those? Sure. Okay, you want to manage some other people and write more on it? Sure. So the Rise of the Peacemaker story or Rise of the Peacemaker series has 11 books, I think. Half of them are by him. He's got other stuff. He's got stories in the anthologies. Because he said yes to this one anthology, he's now got about 6 or 8 books in the series and a whole pile of short stories. And it's opened up some other opportunities. And, it's the power of saying yes.
You would think, though, that a man, excuse me, with the military background, like us as well, would have learned to say no to volunteering yourself. But no, we never learn, do we? We just don't learn.
No. Well, and as authors, when you're given an opportunity to, I didn't say, hey, if you write a good enough story, I'll publish it. I said, you write a story and I'll publish it.
And it's published.
And he was like, all right, I'm in.
I'm
Okay,
doing it.
then write the book. Okay, I'm in. And
Awesome.
they've had quite some success. So he's done pretty good because he said yes.
I adore Kevin. He's a great guy.
He is. He absolutely is.
adore-
He is one of the couple people that I wish were my brothers.
Close enough, man.
Yeah.
I adore him.
Well, he just lives in the wrong darn state. He needs to be closer. Colorado's too far.
So many of them live in Colorado. By them, I mean
they do.
lots and lots of writers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like there's some sort of cult there or something. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah, writing cult.
The cult of Kevin J. Anderson and his word fire. You will write. I will make you.
These little fingers and all these little pies over there. I think that's what it is. Well, so the anthologies, talking the anthologies, because I saw you have a lot of anthologies. I'm sorry?
I said, I like Kevin J. Anderson too. Don't go running to him saying I said something bad. I wasn't saying anything bad.
He knows we all adore him too. It's all good.
Well, I was the master of ceremonies a couple of weeks ago at LibertyCon, and I got to introduce him.
See? That's the time for all the bad jokes, and he'll love it. Also, lots of bar stories with him, let me say.
I got to kind of dig a couple times in there too. So
see, exactly. And he takes it, man. He gives it too, so be careful.
He does. And that's, as a naval aviator, that's all I ask for. Come right back at me. I'll enjoy it just as much.
I got it. We've got this, man. We've got this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to quit saying that though, because I really want to talk about Top Gun, but we're not going to. Okay, so
I did as part of Master of Ceremonies, I got down on my knee and sang, you've lost that loving feeling to the con chair at opening ceremonies. Yes, I did. I called forth the CKP choir. All of the CKP authors came forward. We all sang it. I was on one knee. By the end of it, everybody in the audience is singing too. Brandy is bright red. She's crying. It's awesome.
That, by the way, is why you hang out with writers. Anyone wondering, that is the reason right there. Yeah. People, it's one of the things, why did you want to become a writer? I'm like, because I get to hang with other writers. That's part of the fun. that's definitely on that list.
Fun.
Exactly, because they're amazing. But the anthologies, I'm wondering, so speaking to the readers, because sometimes, readers love anthologies. Other times they're like, what is the benefit to the readers in picking up these anthologies?
Because we hide all sorts of things in the anthologies. You miss the anthology, you miss out.
You eat those inside jokes.
Every book that we publish in the 4HU is important to the storyline because we don't always have room to put everything we need in the main books. So sometimes we stick some very interesting things in there. And people are reading later in the series and they're like, man, where did that come from? And on the Facebook group, there'll be like 6 or 8 people in a row that went, didn't read the anthology, did you? I'll bet you didn't read the anthology. Yeah, you should have read the anthology. You should go back and read the anthology,
So guess what they buy that night?
Well, and so you get that. You also get origin stories for some of your favorite characters. Right. You get different looks at different things, and it's all worthwhile. Every story that I write in there now, I try and make sure that I put something very valuable that you will want to know later.
Smart. So that's not a reason to read. Now, I like anthologies, but everyone doesn't. So that is a very good reason to read.
I never liked anthologies. How about that? Mm-hmm. I hated short stories. I couldn't understand for the life of me why you would want to write a short story. And then I got doing it and I went, I see. This is kind of fun. I like
a powerful tool.
And some people hate them because they're like, well, I don't have enough room to do. Yeah, but you can do this and you can do that. And look at this. Look at how you can end this. So there's lots of fun things.
Yeah, they help me write characters better. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if you have something you're not good at, right? You write that short story, you can really nail that one aspect of the story.
It makes you learn to condense and tell the important stuff.
Yep.
It helps you stay focused on what you need to be talking about rather than, look at me.
I have 100,000 words. Flower. I'm going to write about this tree.
Yeah, exactly.
The berries that live in it. until you give it to me, the editor, and I take care of it for you.
And
Mhm.
one last thing, why else
Yes.
should you read those? Because they give you a look at a lot of different authors, and you may very well find
Yes.
somebody that you didn't think you'd like. Oh my God, this guy is great. This
Mhm.
gal is awesome.
Yep.
I know that in the first anthology, Casey Azell
Mhm.
crying, literally crying, tears, not because it was Dusty, crying. That's how powerful it was. And she made a lot of converts, with that story. People still talk about it. It's book number 5 out of 80, and people go, yeah, but do you remember Gilded Cage, Casey Azell back in Fistful of Credits? Oh yeah. Oh wow. Oh, that one. Wow.
That's awesome. And it's so cool to be able to have that power. Good for her.
Yeah.
Him,
Her, Casey.
her. Sorry, Casey could be either. So
It's girl Casey, because we have CKP, the Four Horsemen universe, has both a girl Casey and a boy Casey, and we call them such. Girl Casey, boy Casey.
and boy Casey, just so you know which
Yeah.
one it is. I mean,
They were both in the Air Force together, so they're friends. And actually, girl Casey is the person that introduced us to boy Casey and said, this guy can write and you should take a look. And I said, okay, cool. If I don't know if you follow football at all, Bear Bryant, coach of Alabama, he was a historic figure. He trained a bunch of other coaches. Then they trained a bunch of other coaches under them. And so everyone talks about his legacy because, all of these coaches, down through like 3 or 4 generations, all came from him and have the same. Well, she's the Bear Bryant of CKP, because she's vouched for like 6 different authors, and now they're bringing in new people. And
that's awesome. So you really shouldn't call her Casey at all. You should just call her Coach.
Could
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And don't tell her why.
She'd have to know. She'd
figure it out. I'm not leaving until you tell me why you calling me Coach.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about a lot of writing and your company.
What question are we up to yet? I don't know.
We're on 11, but there might have been a few extra in the middle because we're having fun.
Okay.
I would like to know.
I needed a scoreboard.
You need a scoreboard. I think I'm going to change the podcast to be 20-ish questions with your favorite author.
Okay, cool. I'm fine.
Yeah. So creatives have to recharge occasionally too, right? So we've talked a lot about all of that kind of stuff and then what you do in your writing and your business. But what hobbies do you enjoy to refill your cup?
Going to cons.
They're fun.
I don't really have a lot of hobbies at the moment. I used to play golf a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played in a while, actually, since we moved here to North Carolina. So I can't say golf is my hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoy traveling with my wife. We have a Class C RV, and we'll go places, and that's a lot of fun going and seeing new things, and a lot of times that leads to new ideas, as you see this and that or the other thing, and ooh, I need to put that in a story, or wow, that guy was really a jerk. Now I know my next villain, and it's him.
We have to meet the characters in order to create the characters.
Right.
It's part of the game, man.
A lot of things we write about are things that we see every day, or using different people in different ways. My wife's adopted grandfather was a stormtrooper in World War II for the Germans, and and I have a character for him in a book that I've got the first chapter written that hopefully Bill Webb and I will get to at the end of this year. It's a story I've been carrying for about 4 years in my head, but I don't have the history to do it well, which is why I'm going to do it with Bill Webb, because between us we can make this everything it ought to be. Mm-hmm. But I know this guy. This guy, he was, when the British captured Mussolini at the end of World War II, he was one of the squad leaders for the Germans that went back in and took him back.
Ooh, wow.
He was a bad man.
Yeah.
In all of in every sense of the word. You know,
Mhm.
he was a very hard man doing a hard job. You know, he was a paratrooper that when the war was going bad, they'd dump his unit in, they'd get control, they'd pull him out and dump him into the next place. He and I didn't get to spend much time with him. But one night, you know, sitting in the kitchen, he told me all of his war stories. He had this smile line, and it wasn't actually a smile line. He was in Algeria, and a guy jumped off of a building with a scimitar and tried to take his head off, and he leaned back and it laid open his cheek, and he said, "So I dealt with him, and then I went over here and did, you know, that was it."
He's like, yeah, that's where I came from.
Yeah. So I dealt with him, and then I went over and did this thing, and you know, it was nothing more than just that was what you did. It was war. He's a tough guy.
He had to be, or he would not have survived in one piece.
He was the only one out of his class that survived the war.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Because he was meaner than anybody.
He was meaner.
But he's a great character. I mean, having met him and talked with him, he is exactly the character I needed for this story to be this tough German World War II, you know, leader that is now going to go back in time to 1776 and walk through the you know, Constitutional Convention, not the Constitution, but the Declaration of Independence, and wipe out every single person there.
Oh, lovely.
That's where it starts out. Ben Franklin's laying on the floor bleeding out, or Thomas Jefferson's bleeding out watching Ben Franklin die. That's the first prologue.
Well, that's not good, because without the French, we're screwed, and Ben brought the French, so we're kind of screwed now.
Everybody that was in there was somebody important at the time.
Holy moly. Yeah. Holy moly.
Yeah.
That sounds terrifying. I mean, interesting, really cool, and terrifying.
Alt history.
I do like alt history.
I've actually got the first several chapters written now, and Bill's seen it, and Bill's like, oh, hell yeah, I want in.
And he loves history so much. He's the right man.
Oh, he does. And he is.
I have his World War II book.
Yeah, he's an expert on all of this stuff, and he can carry off, you know, making sure that I don't do something dumb that will get the real historians to look at me and go, well, he said it was a TX 105 and it was actually a TX 106 because they switched in May 17th, and this is May 18th. So he would have, and I'd be like, it's a fun story. Just read it for fun.
Just have fun. I did the best.
But you gotta have the details right, or you know, a lot of people,
that specific genre.
A lot of old history people get upset. So
that's like making lit RPG without tables. You'd be out. I'm sorry, man. You don't have tables. This is not a lit RPG, and they're gonna kick you out.
Yeah.
So you got another genre.
Vote you off the island. You're gone.
It's like, but I have other stuff. Sorry.
Yeah. That's fine, but you're not allowed to sit at this table.
But you're not here. Sorry.
Yes.
Nope.
You can go sit with the other people. We call them losers.
That stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, we are on our lightning round here. Here we go.
Lightning.
Okay, here we go. We have, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh, good choice. Can zombies climb?
Yes.
Polos or button-ups?
Polo.
What is your term for, you know, the fizzy drink that so many of us consume? Do you call it soda, pop, Coke, or something else?
I grew up in the South. It is Coke. What flavor of Coke do you want? I drink Pepsi, Diet Pepsi flavored Coke, even though they're not even from the same company.
Nope, but that's why I asked. So, okay, Coke it is.
Well, my wife's Canadian and she pops.
Gotcha. I'm soda, so it is what it is. All right, pick one: Star Trek or Star Wars?
I like both for different reasons, but I'm more a science fantasy, so I'll take Star Wars.
Fair. What is your favorite band or musician?
Right now, well, Jimmy Buffett, for all time. and I listen to him majority of my writing time. Also listen to Two Steps from Hell, which has the big epic orchestral music when I'm writing battle scenes. Dire Straits, I love.
Dire Straits too. I'm gonna say, with your big like sci-fi battle scenes, Jimmy Buffett just doesn't. I can't.
That doesn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But two Steps from Hell.
That one will work. Yeah.
Do you know Two Steps from Hell?
I do. I have some of their videos on my thing too. No, it's a good choice. That'll work. Jimmy Buffett, not so much. What is your least favorite chore around the house?
Cleaning up dog poop.
That is a good choice. All right, so
no, it's not a good choice. It's a sucky choice, but my wife won't do it. So,
well, having dogs is a good choice. How about that? Where you don't have to put little boots on them.
Yeah.
Yes. Then they're a good choice.
Nice callback.
Thank you. Now, where can fans find you and your work?
They can find me at chriskennedypublishing.com. They can also find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group that people are welcome to join. It's called The Factory Floor. And if you are interested in the Four Horsemen universe, there is the Merc Guild, 4HU. And you can just search 4HU and search 4H or search Factory Floor. Come join us. We have fun. All the authors are there. Not just me, but probably about 30 or 40 authors. So if you ever wanted to just, chat with an author, they're all right there.
There they are. I love it. Well, now that Chris is your new favorite author, please make sure to review his work wherever it is you pick your books up. And you can also review us wherever it is you get your podcast. You can also, let's see if I get it right. You can also
like and subscribe.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. Right. You can subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitch. And we would love to see you next week when we have JD Astra. We'll see you then.